Okay, let's start. Then let's start today's the lecture. So today, again, we are going to start with this, the quiz. So okay. Do you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, be ready with your smartphone. What's this? Create change. Okay, go. Okay, let's start. Not everybody got the right answer. Who didn't answer? I have only 5 answers here. Who could not make the answer? Okay. You are connected to the Kahoot? Dong, do you know how to do this?
I misunderstood. I thought that who made the incorrect
Okay, that's
answer.
okay. But my point was, the answer right now is only 5 answers here. So we are 6 people here. So I'm wondering
okay.
who could not make the answer. Everybody is connected to Kahoot?
Yes.
Juan, do you know how
Yes.
to use it?
Yes, I know.
Okay, good. So it seems like the SARS seems like the serious case, but interestingly, SARS was not claimed as a pandemic last time. It had a higher the death rate, but it disappeared very quickly, relatively, so it was not claimed. WHO was built in 1948, 1948. So after that, there was only 2 cases so far. One was 1968, the Hong Kong flu. Actually, before that, there was another very serious the flu in Spain, 1918. But that was before WHO's the establishment. And after that, there was another one, new flu, so-called the Xinjiang flu in 2009. And then now this is the third one. So this coronavirus, current one, is the third one. So SARS seems like left some the big emotional damage to us, but interestingly, SARS was not that serious. So that means that this current corona situation is even more serious. Okay. Move on to the next question. Sejin was the first. Okay, very good. Who made the answer for the MERS? Okay.
I did.
Influenza virus is a separate family as an influenza virus. And interestingly, the SARS, MERS, and also the current the coronavirus, all of them are coronavirus. Okay. So the common cause of the cold is coronavirus. And this SARS, MERS, or the current coronavirus is kind of mutated and modified the viruses. So influenza is more serious so far. 2 pandemic cases before, officially and also the unofficially, one more. Influenza was always the most serious and dangerous one for human being, but now we encountered as new modified the new coronavirus as a new threat. Okay, so these are different viruses. Okay, we had this same problem last time. Who is this the green one? Okay, again, Juan missed the last week the class, so there's some small the difference we see, but don't worry, you didn't miss much, so you can catch up very quickly. So we are doing some warming up work for this week. After this warming up, from next week we will go back to basic the knowledge construction, starting from antibiotic and also antiviral drug mechanism and also the drug development, the kind of things. So this week we are still doing collecting some current information and also warming up and sharing our ability to communicate for using this pandemic and also coronavirus at the moment. Okay, so coronavirus is RNA virus. That's why the genetic information, it doesn't have a DNA. And it has a coat outside. So that's a protein coat. Some viruses has membrane structure, some viruses they don't. But this coronavirus, they have a membrane structure too. So these three, the RNA, protein, lipid, membrane, that they exist in coronavirus, but DNA, genetic information is not there. Okay. Okay, half of you believe this is 10 nanometer, half of you believe this is 100 nanometer. Virus is about 100 nanometer. So here I put 1000 nanometer. Actually, we don't say 1000 nanometer. 1000 nanometer is equivalent to
1 micrometer.
1 micrometer, right? So that kind of a counting of those number we are going to study a little today. So, you know, using the basic language and also the counting is the basis of learning new things. So that's something we are going to cover today. Actually, this answer the Taek-Jun gave last time in his definition of our body. Wow, okay. So many of you got the right answer. Taek-Jun said, Taek-Jun is made of 1 trillion of cells. Okay, trillion, how many of the cells is 1 trillion? That's something that we are going to gauge from today. Any questions so far? Okay, if not, we move to the today's class. Okay, today we are going to think about these pandemic issues. I tried to give you some examples. Well, in my view of the construction part in my account, I tried to divide those classes as a coronavirus and influenza virus, bird flu kind of separately, but it seems like it was just combined all together in one. It may be a little inconvenient for you to look at it. Sorry about it, but I will fix that problem from next week material. Now this one we have done, and we'll move to. So we said a trillion. How many is a trillion? If you count as a 10 to the something. 10의 몇 성 is a trillion. 10 to the what?
12.
10 to the 4? 10 to the 4 is 10,000. 10의 4성 is 10,000. So do you think our body is made of only 10,000 cells? We may have more cells than that, right?
12.
Sorry?
12. 10 to the 12.
Yes, trillion is 10 to the 12. 10 to the 12 in Korean, what do you say?
조.
That's 1조. 1조 is 1 trillion. Then smaller than trillion, What do you call?
Billion.
That's a billion. Billion is a 10 to the 9th. And smaller than that, we have a unit of a million. Million is a 10 to the 6th. And 10 to the 3, this is a 1,000. So this is English way or the Western other way to count the numbers, the counted numbers in a big scale. How do you call it in Asian ways? Now our the TA is the Chinese, so I put Korean and the Chinese together. So now we have this kind of a system. After Ok, Jo, what's next?
경,
Kyung, and then
해,
He. After that,
자,
what?
자.
Ah, really? No, it's a she. I tried to find some information from website. So usually we use up to Jo. It's common these days. Let's just say Korean yearly government the budget is about 500 Jo. So that's kind of a number that we use this time. He is a very rare. We don't have a chance to use that term, but there is some terms. Keep going like this. So the last one here is let's just say Guk. This one is a 10 to the 48. Did you hear have you ever heard any bigger number than this? Well, maybe in the Google class in the high school, maybe we heard something like a big number. The sand number in Ganges River in India is something like this. Nobody knows exactly what's the number, but in the internet, seems like there's somebody is estimated the number, something like this. And another one. So the meaning of this, well, it's difficult to think out. That's the meaning of 불가사의, right? So this one is estimated like this. The biggest number I could find in the website is this kind of things. Basically, this means we cannot measure is 무량대수, but somebody estimated this is kind of this number. So let's come back to this English terms because we are learning the English way how to count. So if you go up from here, 1,000, million, billion, trillion. So this term already has some meaning of this is a million means it's a lot. After that, this is a number 2, a lot twice, a lot triple times, kind of things. Can you guess what's next? Another big difference here is if you look at those Asian ways, Chinese ways or the Korean ways, we make that scale 10 to the 4 each. In English way, they make those scale 10 to the 3. So it's kind of a little the different system, and that's why sometimes it's difficult to convert this term into the Asian way. But anyway, we are using the English as the common language for now. So after trillion, can you guess? Something meaning 2, 3, the next should be something meaning 4, right? So next one is quadrillion. So quad is 4. Quint is 5. Sex is 6. Hept is 7. What is 8?
Oct.
Oct, right? So octopus, octillion, okay, good guess. What is 9?
Nona,
Nona, nano.
Nona.
It's a nona. Non is 9. What is 10?
Deca,
Deca. So it's a decillion. So biggest number I could find in the website, this is keep going. This is 10. So of course you can use 11, 12, 13. You can keep going. Well, biggest number I found, can you guess? Something you may have heard. This is the origin of the name of Google. So the founder of Google, they saw this number, and then they changed this word a little into their other website name. So now Google is, how big is it? Can you guess? Well, this was the biggest number I could find. The 10 to the
70.
here is the answer. 10 to the 100. So this is some number, it's not practically that we use in daily life, but this kind of a number has been used to the use as a big scale. So in mathematics, we use a log scale or exponential scale, but in common the world, we use this kind of terms when we need to handle very, very big numbers. So counting, let's just say very common way of English way, 1, 2, 3. So we don't need to practice this, I guess. So everybody knows this level. Now let's test our the TA. Shao, can you read this?
Liu Xiao,
Liu Xiao, thank you. How about this?
Su Song-en,
Okay, not bad. And this?
Sun Se-jin,
Okay, at least we can recognize Shao can read Korean. Okay, so at least he can do this much. I didn't give this question to him before. I just tested his reading level of Korean. Okay, now there's some different ways of counting. So sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4 is just the basic, the kindergarten English way. But if you go this way, now what can be 2?
I.
Okay, that's good. By is another way, but here by or die. And this way we call di, tri, tetra. So already we heard different way to call by, so we will come to that later. But this mono system, sometimes depending on whether this is the Greek or the Latin, it may have a little different way to call. Not just the by. This. If you go this other system, then what can be 3?
Three.
It's a tris. Okay. What can be 4?
Tetra.
Just a tetra. Everything is like a cis. It's a tetra case. So sometimes we use the di-tri system. Sometimes we use this system. So depending on the complexity of the naming of a chemical name or system name, sometimes we mix these two systems and use. There are other systems too. Okay, this is a pentakis and move on. Have you ever heard this? This is some chemical way to call carbon number using this format, right?
Yes.
Even though you didn't learn organic chemistry yet, I think some of this basic you have learned, I believe. If it's a 2, what do you call?
Eta.
에타,
Yes, sir. Esa. 3,
Eta.
second. 3,
프로파,
it's a propan. Okay. 4, I didn't hear.
Buta.
It's a buta. 5,
Penta.
penta. 6,
Hexa.
it's a hexa, not 6 or 6. 7,
Hepta.
헵타,
hepta. 8,
Octa.
옥타,
octa. 9,
Nona.
노나,
nona or nano.
Nona.
노나,
It's a nona. 10,
Deca.
데카,
deca. Anybody knows 11?
언데카,
Okay, nice. Undeca. So this is a 110. Okay, un is a 1. 12.
도데카,
So this is a Latin word, like Italian or Spanish word. So we use this kind of terms to count. So exactly using these numbers, we can make a 10 to the, the trillion, that's series, decillion, and then we can keep going using this the format. Now, another way to say, if we have some spectrum, so the spectrum number, if it's a single peak, we call singlet. If it's 2 peak, how would you like to call?
Doublet.
Okay, this is we call doublet. 3,
Triplet.
double is a triple. Now the 2 has a different the way to call bi, bis, di, different ways, right? If it's a 4,
Tetra.
tetralet.
Quartet.
Yes, it's a quartet. So now there's some mixing of these terms, the tris, and then all of a sudden it moved to the quart, the format. It's Latin, the word. 5, quadra, what is the next? Quintet, 6. Not easy, right? It's a sextet, 7, septet. So this kind of a Latin or oct is always easy. We can see octopus and October as a kind of the easy. Non is a kind of the 9 is kind of easy. So this kind of the numbering is actually, it's not easy even to the native speaker of English. If they are not properly educated, learning Latin or some ancient languages, it's quite confusing. But at least, even though you cannot say, at least by looking at this, the word, if you can understand what the number that means, then that's enough for now. Okay. At least by looking at those, I will put this the note up to the website too. So by looking this number, at least you can convert this into Arabic number. That's enough for now. Okay. Now, if it is many, what do you call? Single pig, you call singlet. Doublet, 2 pigs. Triplet, 3 pigs. If it's many, using these terms.
멀티플랫.
Yes, you call multiplet. Or I cannot assign. There are too many things there. Okay? Now, another the countering system. Now we heard the by. So when you use the distance, 2 is a binary system. Then how do you like to call 1? Binary is a 2 system, and it's a 1 system. Then how do you like to call? This term we don't use much. So this term is called as a unary. Binary is a 이진법, 이진, 2. Okay. If it's a 3, then how do you like to call? Binary. Using same analogy.
Try.
No trick here. Trinary maybe, but ternary is how we call. Okay. Again, there's some rule is not very systematic, so sometimes it's not easy. But at least by looking at that term, the word, if you can catch what's the number, that's enough for now. So this kind of system we can keep going, but 10 is maybe the common word we can use. Denary means 십진법. So that means we use denary system in numbering, and computer use binary system, 이진법, right? So computer system, they use 1 or the 0. So each unit of this we call bit. So 1 bit, computer system, 1 bit is binary system. Now, recently we started to hear some quantum computing, right? And then instead of just a bit, we call qubit, quantum bit. And sometimes it's maybe, it's not binary system. It can be 3 or 4 different kind of systems, we say. And also there is another term, we use a byte, 1 byte. When we count our file size, we use a megabyte, not bit, okay? So here, this byte means it's a unit cluster of a bit. And then if you use a 2 bit as a 1 byte, then this system we call 2-bit system. Our current computer system, how many the bit system do we use?
8.
Currently 8-bit system. How old are you? Your computer may be either 32 or 64-bit, isn't it?
I don't know.
Okay, I will tell you later. So if it's a 2-bit system, this is 1 byte, okay? 1 byte can have 4 informations. It can be 00, 01, 10, 11. It's a 4 information you can express. So this 1 byte has a very limited information. That's why it's not convenient. So if it's a 4-bit system, how many information you can store, how many different kind of information you can store in this 1 byte? Here is a reference.
16.
It's a 16, right? 2 to the 4. It's a 16 information you can put here. So 1 byte is like 1 word. 1 word. So if 1 word is like this, let's just say if you assign alphabet here, A, B, C, D, then how many alphabet do we have in English?
26.
26, right? Then this information number, it cannot even cover from A to Z, right? So we need bigger the bit system. So that's why 8-bit. Taekjun said he uses an 8-bit computer. Well, 30 years ago when I started in Postec, I used the 8-bit computer. Oh no, even 16-bit. 8-bit computer now. How many informations you can store in this 1 byte? Hey, Postecians.
256.
256, right? 256. This is multiplied by the 16 by 6, the 16. So if you have this kind of an 8-bit, now you can assign all the alphabet, all the number. Now if you have other languages, now you can put 기역, 니은, 디귿, 리을, or I, U, E, O, or different languages maybe can assign here. So when I started to use the computer, we used the 8-bit computer, and then it was expanded a little further, 16-bit computer. 16-bit, now you have enough numbers of different combinations. Now your current computers, our current computers is either 32-bit or 64-bit computers. That means 1 byte can handle many informations inside there, or even maybe some of those spaces are wasted because we don't use them all. But to make the computer fast, and we waste some empty space, but we still utilize bigger kind of units. So this is the case of we use binary or denary kind of systems. Okay. Now let's come back to the little chemistry of the story. So here, if you use just a single number, so in chemistry or in science, usually we measure those physical the unit as a weight as a the weight as a gram or length as a meter. So this two is very commonly used. If you make it bigger scale, then rather than we say 1,000, it may be better to have some abbreviation to use a little shorter of the expression. So 10 to the 3, what kind of a unit do you add? To the meter, 1,000 meter, how do you call?
Kilometer.
Kilo.
Kilometer, it's a K. And if it's 10 to the 6, how do you call? Thousand is a kilo. Million.
Ton.
Yeah, yes, ton, but how about the 4 gram? The gram is a ton. How about the meter?
Mega.
We use mega as a 10 to the expression of a 10 to the 6. Okay, so I use the computer as an example. So that's why it may be easy to think about the computer. 10 to the 6 is a mega. 10 to the 9?
Giga.
Giga. It's 10 to the 9 is a giga. In the student days, giga was the biggest one. Even it was rare to hear giga, but giga was quite common for now. Even the bigger one, now we started to use. What is it?
Tera.
Tera.
It's a tera, right? Okay, up to tera, maybe all I ever heard. The next one, have you ever heard?
Peta.
It is a peta. Maybe only one of the two of you have heard of this, but very soon, this will be very common word in our life, right? The memory space is getting bigger and bigger. How about the next one? We don't use the very common for now. It's exa and even zeta. So those kind of terms is already ready and waiting for us. But we are in the range of converting from the transition between tera to peta range, right? So this is common, the abbreviation we use. And as you can see here, all the abbreviations here, they used as capital because it's a bigger size. Okay, so this number, other than computer, the memory space, we don't use much in chemistry. In chemistry, usually we need to use even small size because we need to handle molecules. 10 to the minus 1 is we don't use much these days, but it's a deci. So deciliter means this is 100 milliliter. Okay, in Europe, they use this other unit very common. 10 to the minus 2, what is it?
Centimeter.
It's a centi. Centi means 100, deci means 10, okay? Here it's getting smaller. That's why those units are smaller characters, not capital characters, right? 10 to the minus 3?
Milli.
Milli.
That's a milli. So it's a small m. Now let's jump the 3 by 3. 10 to the minus 6.
Micro.
Micro.
Yes, this is a micro. So actually this I just put here, this as a U, but actually this should be Greek character of a micro. It should have a little tail here, micro, okay? And 10 to the minus 9.
Nano.
나노,
Now this is nano, not nona. So nano means 10 to the minus 9 in small size. Nona means is the number 9. Okay, you should not be confused with this. 10 to the minus 12.
Pico.
Nice, pico. 10 to the minus 15.
펜토,
Femto. Up to here, in science currently, we use this unit. Up to femto 10 to the minus 15th, it's in real life, we use these scales for now. 10 to the minus 18. Relatively rare, but there is a term there, the so-called atto. So femto, we use the femtometer and femtosecond. Okay, those kind of a time scale. Femtosecond is the light transition from one side to the other. So that's the scale of the time scale that we are currently utilizing. Now, if you think about the size, we can think from 1 meter. If somebody asks you, how tall are you? Maybe most likely we are between 1 meter and 2 meter, right? Taller than 1 meter and smaller than 2 meter. As an adult, then maybe it can cover 99.9% of all human beings. So we are kind of a 1 meter scale. And then getting very small, atom is here. Mainly we are going to handle life forms. Then whole body is about 1 meter. And biggest egg, biggest cell in the world for now is ostrich egg. Maybe this is bigger than 10 centimeter, but this is one cell. But majority of cells here, those are around here. This is majority of cells, about 10 micrometer. Bacteria is about 1 micrometer. Virus, which we are going to cover, this virus is about 100 nanometer. There is some big virus, small virus, big cells, small cells, but this is a good number to memorize. So with some examples, egg cells, this is human egg cells. It's the biggest cell in the human body is egg cell, but that size is about 100 micrometer. This is about 0.1 millimeter. This is the biggest cell in our body. And people say even we can see this cell without any magnifier or microscope. But it looks like one dot, very small dot, but that's the biggest one. Sperm cells, it's much smaller. And length is maybe half of our egg cell size, but head size is very small. And other cells, many type of cell we have in the body, except very long cells. By the way, let me ask you, which is the longest cell in our body?
Neuron cells.
Yes, it's a neuron cells. Some long neuron cells, it can be 1 meter long, but that's kind of an exception. Volume-wise, if you assume that those cells are kind of a globular shape, usually our cell and also plant cells is about 10 micrometer size. That's a good gauge. It's a good gauge. It's a very convenient number you memorize. Bacteria, how big is it? I already told you in the previous page.
1 micro,
Our cell is
1
about,
micro,
our cell is 10 micrometer. Then bacteria size is about 10% of our cells. If the size was 10%, how about the difference in volume?
1,000.
It's 1,000 times smaller. Volume is 10 to the square, right? Not square, the cubic. So size is about 10%, but volume is about 0.1%. Now, mitochondria is kind of a symbiosis in our body, and we believe that that came from some other bacteria form and started to live together with us. Mitochondria size is similar to bacteria. It's about 1 micrometer. Now, virus. easy enough for us to memorize. That's another 10% of bacteria. Okay. Then volume difference between virus to human cell. What's the difference? Come on.
Again, 1,000.
Virus to human cell, I said. Not virus to bacteria.
Oh.
Maybe my question was not clear. Bacteria to human cell, the size is 10 times. Then volume difference is 1,000 times, right? Because that's a volume. Now, virus to human, size is 100 times. Then volume difference,
10,000.
Million.
million.
Oh.
It's not 10,000, million. Okay, that's a 10 to the 6. So that means in one human cell, we can pack 1 million virus particle. Okay, if a coronavirus invade our cells, then you can imagine that in one cell, the space-wise, if it is fully packed with a virus, 1 million virus can fill in one of our cells. Okay, that kind of a relative the scale is quite convenient when you draw or when you design or think the scale difference and what's going on in physical shape kind of thing. Now, microtubules, some structures inside the cell is this number. Immunoglobulin G, IgG is antibody. So in this course later, we are going to cover not only small molecule drugs, we are going to cover antibody drugs. Then it would be good to know what is the size of antibody. So let me ask you a question this way. Antibody, is it bigger or smaller than virus?
Smaller.
Smaller.
Smaller, are you sure? Here is the answer. Antibody is the Y shape, right? And then the length wise, the longest side is about the 10 nanometer. Okay, now you can gauge those antibody size to virus. Lengthwise, antibody is about 10 times, 10%, approximately 10% compared to virus. Then you can guess how many antibody can bind to one virus. Okay, so this is also very convenient to memorize. About 10 times smaller antibody can bind to virus. Virus is much bigger, about 10 times bigger than antibody. Exact number is not important. It's 12 times or 13 times, 10 times, it doesn't matter. It's about 10 times. Approximate gauging of the scale is quite convenient, you can think. How about our cell membrane? All of our cells, animal cells, we have phospholipid bilayer of a membrane structure. Okay, one lipid molecule, you can calculate those the thickness. One lipid molecule has about 20 carbon. It's a bilayer, 40 carbon. If it's a 40 carbon, then what is the distance between carbon to carbon? Anybody knows? Carbon to carbon length? Nobody remember? 1.5 angstrom approximately. That's a 0.1 nanometer. Then it's a zigzag shape. Then you can assume that one atomic distance is about 0.1 nanometer, you can assume. Then by calculating that, you can calculate membrane is about 4 nanometer. If it's a 4 nanometer, now you can think antibody can be embedded into the membrane. Membrane length, the antibody length is thicker, longer than membrane thickness. So you can put the antibody onto the membrane. The kind of the size, the comparison you can use. And you can also use this, the virus. When the virus invade our cells, what kind of a shape? At least around the membrane area, okay? Virus is much bigger than membrane thickness. Okay, this can give you some idea what kind of thing is ongoing on the membrane. Now C60 is the fluorine 축구공 shape of soccer shape of the molecule. It's about 1 nanometer. It's considered as kind of a big molecule. But many other molecules is less than 1 nanometer. And small molecules are 0.1, 0.2 the nanometer size. Atom is also, though we counter this as a 0.1 nanometer, but when we counter atom, this size is a electron cloud size. So this is not nucleus size. Nucleus size is now 10 to the minus 15. 10 to the minus 15 meter, how did you call?
M2.
It's a femtometer, FM, okay? So this is the physical smallest size we encounter in the matters. So nucleus size is about this. Now important point here is from bacteria, from cell, 10 micrometer, bacteria size, virus size, and antibody size, and membrane thickness. These are important the numbers. It's very convenient numbers if you memorize. I don't require you to memorize too many things. I require you to think together with me and to logically think and also deduce out the good conclusion from different other clues. That's what I want. But some of these basic numbers, if you memorize, it's very convenient. Then you don't need to look up. You can just make out the approximate but quite reliable the answer very quickly. Okay, that's something that we want to focus on. Okay, let's just skip this. We practice enough. So this one I will put up in the lecture note onto the web. So you look up these numbers and then practice yourself whether you can convert this difficult number to the say. Now, if you tell me, okay, the answer is 0.0012 centimeter. Now, I need to think and I need to write down to count exactly what you meant. But if you tell me this answer is 1.2 micrometer, then I don't need to calculate. I can just catch the scale right away, right? So that's why these numbers, I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear, if I ask you any questions about the concentration or length, I want to hear those units, these manners. Then it's much easier to communicate. Okay, this one you practice yourself. Now, this week, I brought the old materials into, by mistake, just without any class. Every other video materials were in one chunk. That's why maybe those information was a little scattered maybe. You didn't ask many questions, but here is one question given. This current of the coronavirus is highly infectious, but relatively mortality is at the low, 4%. MERS and SARS, this number is also a little different. MERS and SARS is also different the death rate, mortality rate, but it's much higher, 36. Why? Well, these are coronavirus, the same family of a virus, coronavirus, and this is relatively new. We are studying those the current coronavirus seriously. We don't know much for now. Even those death rate, if you look at those websites, different country has quite different numbers. Italy is about 10%. Maybe the best country for now seems like Germany, about 0.4%. Now, those difference, what makes the difference? Frankly, we don't know yet. So we need to figure out. And also, that's high death rate versus low death rate. Which one is easy for us to control for that disease? That's another aspect we need to think. Okay, so we don't know whether high is good or low is good. This is one number we needed to look at. The mortality rate means the death rate. Another one is infection rate. One carrier, one other infected person, how many other person that first person can infect? That's another important number we need to look at. Depending on those two numbers, whether it's easy to control or that's relatively more difficult to control. That's some other aspect we need to think. So in due course, we are going to talk about that part. But for today, I invited you to make some presentation. I wanted to see, this is a totally new information and this is not established academic information for now. It's kind of just a news and just information. unmodified and unestablished the informations. So it could be open questions. So I invited you to give up, present some of those information collection. So most of you they did a good job. I selected the 2. If you don't have enough time, maybe we hear the 1 talk today. And then if there's any other volunteers, maybe we hear several more in Thursday the meeting. Okay. So Sejin is our senior, and he did as a senior, really did the best job, or a very good job among those presented ones. So I asked Sejin first to present what he prepared for today. Okay, Sejin, you can share your material here. I will stop sharing. Okay.
Is it working?
Yeah, we can see that.
Well, let me start it. Hello, I'm our first presenter, Sejin. As a senior, I took this responsibility. I promise I will. It will be an easy presentation that does not require too much major knowledge because it is the beginning of the semester. So today I want to share a research trend for current hot issue COVID-19. It will cover what is going on at the front line and how the disease is being treated. So all you know that on December 31st, 2019, it was first reported to the WHO that a number of patients had an infectious pneumonia whose cause was not clearly identified in the Wuhan, Hubei province, China. The virus, which started in Wuhan fish market, is one of the coronavirus, but genetically different strain from the previously known SARS coronavirus. A disease caused by the virus was initially called Wuhan pneumonia or Wuhan perium. However, it was named COVID-19 now by WHO in order to exclude words such as a specific geographical location like Wuhan, a person name, or a culture. Meanwhile, the virus name for COVID-19 is determined as a SARS-CoV-2, meaning it is related to the SARS coronavirus. Could you see the mouse point?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
All right, I'll use it. Anyway, now it has been rapidly spreading around the world beyond the local community. As a result, the WHO declared the pandemic as of March 11, 2020. COVID-19 became the first pandemic caused by coronavirus because all 4 pandemics, including the Spanish flu, which have been declared, was due to the influenza virus. So here is the definition of epidemic and pandemic. Epidemic is just limited in the local community, but pandemic is also severe situation, but it was more serious because all of the world are affected by some disease. So as of midnight on March 24, when I was preparing this presentation, there were 353,723 confirmed cases and 15,427 deaths, with 4.36% of fatality rate on a global level. Fatality rate is same thing with the mortality rate. This information is based on the Korean Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Korean 질병관리본부. The most common symptoms of COVID-19 are cough, high fever, and shortness of breath. It also has fatal symptoms such as septic shock and, in worst case, death. So then, what efforts are the researchers making to treat COVID-19? this is what I want to focus on this presentation. You might hear there is no any vaccine for COVID-19. Yes, it is right. In fact, not only COVID-19, but also SARS and MERS do not have protective vaccines that has been proven to be safe or effective in humans yet. Although no vaccine has completed clinical trials, there are multiple attempts in progress to develop such a vaccine. It is believed that existing SARS and MERS research may provide a useful template for developing vaccines against COVID-19. By early March 2020, about 35 companies and academic institutions are involved, and some 30 vaccine candidates were in development. These candidates can be classified as follows. Live attenuated virus, maybe you heard this. This is a classic way to make a vaccine with reduced virulence or reduced toxicity of virus. Using protein subunit or DNA can be an alternative way. Moreover, RNA vaccine is a novel type of vaccine. No RNA vaccines have yet been approved for medical use, though clinical trials are ongoing. Nevertheless, a number of companies are trying to get RNA vaccine because RNA vaccines are much faster to synthesize proteins than traditional dose ways. So more than one company is leading this RNA vaccine for COVID-19. Scientists add a specific gene into the virus, a form of RNA to produce virus spike. This is a very specific character of coronavirus, like this crown-like shape thing. So anyway, the scientists are gonna put a gene as a form of RNA into the virus to produce this kind of virus spike with reduced toxicity and make the body think it is seeing a live virus with no toxin and create antibodies against this virus. All right. And why doesn't a vaccine come out so quickly, even with such a good method? Since SARS-CoV-2 is an RNA virus, there is a possibility of a lot of mutation chance. Even if vaccines are developed, there may be limitations on the participation of large drug companies that can produce massive vaccine, depending on how long the pandemic is going to take. This is a kind of money issue because developing vaccines are required at least 6 to 18 months from development to the approval to commercialize. Few companies would participate without economic benefits. This is a real practical issue we are facing. This is a story about vaccine. And what about medicine market? Medicine is different from the vaccine in that it doesn't prevent but cure and relieve disease. One of common remedies may be plasma treatment, 혈장 치료. Anyone who has watched the movie 감기 will know this way. The plasma treatment is a remedy where antibodies in plasma suppress the growth of the virus by injecting plasma of a patient who has recovered from the virus before. This method was effective for Ebola or influenza before. But the exact protocol for COVID-19 is not yet established. However, experts experts say that it is not easy to use plasma treatment for COVID-19 in this kind of pandemic situation because the plasma of recovery patients is limited. Of course, it will be effective if only a single antibody could be extracted from those plasma and analyzed accurately, but it is still under development. It seems to be hard stuff. So far, antiviral drugs that target COVID-19 doesn't exist. Instead, those kind of chemical synthetic drugs used in Ebola or AIDS are being applied now. Because this drug inhibit RNA synthesis or block the virus replication or virus cell fusion. With this principle, some virus cannot proliferate very well. Anyway, there is still no clear solution for COVID-19. To make an end to this situation, more basic studies of virus structure, epidemiology, immunology, etc. should be done. In addition, international cooperation is needed to solve practical problems quickly, like a money issue. Through this effort, I really wish that therapy for COVID-19 to be developed as soon as possible. Thank you for listening.
Okay, that's very good. Any question to Sejin? Well, he has done very broad the overview, and also some of those possible approach that we can handle this coronavirus, starting from the vaccine approach, and also plasma treatment. I'm not sure whether you could catch those difference and also those mechanism, what he meant. But those are things we are going to cover in due course later. Some of you already may have some idea. At least you know that maybe you have heard that some weakened the virus could be used as a vaccine. That's kind of a common approach we use for the vaccination, as the Sejin said. But there's just attenuate the virus. But other approaches using DNA, RNA as a vaccine, and also plasma treatment, there's some other information you may need. So those kind of things we are going to cover later again. Even though you could not catch everything, don't worry for now. I think we have a little more time to handle this. Then, Dongho, would you present your materials?
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yep,
Yes.
very clear, very clean.
Okay. Okay, then I'll start my presentation. First, the first presenter, Hong Se-jin, did a presentation about the scientific efforts that scientists are currently doing to mitigate the effects of this COVID-19. However, I approached this in a different attitude about the possible reactions and suppression of the disease, which was proposed by various governments and institutions around the world. So the topic today is obviously SARS-CoV-2, which is the official name for the virus responsible for COVID-19. Anyone who can guess the picture behind this title? It's various countries which is marked with deep blue or light blue or white colors, and this means how many cases have come out in each country. If it's more darker in blue, it means that more patients have been come out. So the USA and China and Iran, and in the most countries in Europe, you can see have very darker shades of it. Okay, so before we officially start, I would like to introduce the current status of the pandemic using various data. Cases have skyrocketed over 300,000 people, and the center of the epidemic has shifted from China and the surrounding regions to Europe over the past week. Total deaths has been exponentially increasing in the following 6 countries. Can you see the mouse point here?
Yes.
Okay. Following 6 countries and expected to grow a whole lot more in these 5. So the next slide shows the same data of patients analyzed in a different manner. The data on the right is a deep analysis of the 6 countries performed by the British magazine Economist. It is easily noticeable that each country is having a similar exponential graph of the total increasing cases. The stock markets on all countries have plummeted, but I would like to notice a slight difference between our country, South Korea, and the other 5. Compared to South Korea, which has over 12 hospital beds per 10,000 inhabitants and having a median age of only 43.7, other European countries have a serious problem to provide hospital beds to patients, which is only 3 or 6 or 8 hospital beds for 10,000 inhabitants. And they're also having a problem to treat and care for the elderly people because their median age tend to be older than South Korea of 45 or 47 and so on. So to mitigate, or which means to decrease the harmfulness of the disease, public bars and restaurants have been closed in Italy, France, Spain, and Germany. So I will focus on the various decision and research methods that have been performed in respect of the following results. However, these are not research methods, but only estimated data results, which show that how many patients will be infected in the following days and months. So it's not a real data or 100% scientifically approved. So the first thing that countries did was to ground flights to other countries and banning foreign citizens to enter its borders. The available airline seats have dramatically decreased within Europe. Where is Europe? Within Europe, it's almost -20. And also in China to Europe and China to US or Canada. The situation is similar in our country too. You might wonder what is this 106 Hong Kong means. And this is actually archived data of the PDF file from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which means 외교부 in our country. And it says that over 106 countries among the world have banned Korean citizens to enter or to quarantine his or herself for 2 weeks upon entry. So I guess I've done with the introduction, so I'll go on with the various measures that countries are doing to mitigate the affairs. China, which is only producing 1 or 2 infected patients in domestic areas every day, so we could assume that they're almost currently done with the disease. They have different measures for people who have started to resume their work after the quarantine. Technology is used to track and locate people with the help of big data. The picture over here, which shows a QR code, is mandatory for all citizens who use the subway in Shanghai. People can scan their phones to this QR code to enter the subway, and the government knows which exact platform you took in the train. This is used to minimize the local transmission when somebody got infected. Okay, so moving on. And the UK, these 2 pictures are slogans from the Britain and the United States. They're administrating tense measures of their people with the slogan to stay home and stay safe. You might just wonder what the NHS of this picture means. Does anybody know what NHS means?
National Health Security.
well, it's actually National Health Service,
Okay.
which is a publicly funded healthcare system of the United Kingdom. They other to Korea, which use a government-funded all medical care, they use is private sectors such as this. So they're basically meaning that they need to protect this NHS to save their lives. So advising, as this various measure tells us that advising people to stay home and do nothing seems quite good to prevent the spread of the disease. These measures are so-called NPIs. Oh, I didn't show it out, but actually this sentence means that the US government is currently imposing a curfew for people to enter their homes before it gets too late. It reminds me of World War II or something like that. So these measures are so-called NPIs, or non-pharmaceutical interventions that the government forces citizens to follow. However, a recent research by the Imperial College of London tells us that these NPIs could also have side effects. Since the whole research is too long and complicated to tell all parts of this presentation, I'll only show the results led by the results. And the text goes like this. They led in conclusion that mitigation is unlikely to be feasible without emergency surge capacity limits. This sentence is quite hard to comprehend. I will explain it later in the next slide. So the basic meaning of what they're saying is that however the governments try to suppress the disease, there will be likely to have 250,000 deaths in Great Britain and 1.1 to 1.2 million in the United States. So we wonder why these drastic numbers have come out, though governments are opposing strict measures. This measures and that data values have actually been researched by these scientists, not scientists, but I guess prediction experts. So they have divided into 3 cases of government suppression techniques. And the first thing you notice is that there is a red line in this behind. And this red line actually means that the limit of the surge critical bed capacity. What this means is that this is the limit of 음압병실 in each country. So if the patients tend to get more than this limit, there will be no space to care and treat for these patients. So getting on with the next part is there are 3 lines, black and orange and green, and which is to do nothing or to isolate the case or quarantine each household and general social distancing, and also to close schools and university and advise people to social distance from each other in a general manner. So to do nothing shows a straight peak in the following May and June. And this means that almost millions and millions of people die from not doing anything from the government. But also, even we suppress households to quarantine or to close university, there is a possibility to have a second outbreak in the following year or the winter of this year, because that the quarantined people would get out after the whole sequence gets likely to be mitigated and everybody thinks that the disease are over. So there's a possibility that an outbreak can come like a rebound, which is the second wave of the disease. So the most important thing I would like to tell you in this presentation is that regardless of how governments introduce a good method to mitigate, a mortality rate of 1 million is unavoidable unless groundbreaking clinical improvement is achieved. Simply speaking, without science, human policies don't work on disease. So that's my conclusion, and thank you for listening to my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Dongwoo. Do you have any question for Dongwoo? Okay, if not, let me conclude about today's the lecture. So today we heard the 2 talks. the Sejin's the overview and also a little more details from Dongwoo's. Whenever you present the guys, try to make it a little more general the presentation. Okay, start from very general intro and then going into the specifics very quickly, but try not to say too much details. Then it can be a little difficult to focus for long. Okay. Anyway, the two talks we had very good. Now the next class, next class that will be on Thursday. That we meet the same format. There is no further assignment for this week, but let's just say I realized from our system there is no the notice the message coming to me before I enter those system. So before I download the files you uploaded, it was difficult for me to notice any other changes was made there or not. So every deadline, I will download those files one time. So if you are over the deadline and you send me your the assignment late, or if you modify any of your presentation material or the assignment, then please email those materials to me. I think that's a safe way. Then I can figure out that this is the most updated file or something like that. Sejin, I saw you updated several times of your file. In the system, was it? Did it allow you to change those files? Take down okay. So you heard Sejin that I didn't put up any system deadline to the iClass or the PostGX. So if you modify until the deadline, you have a chance to change your file with the updated one. But once you reach the deadline, that's at 6 a.m. in the morning, either Tuesday or Thursday, depending on my request. So after that, usually I get up at 6. Then I start to download all the files. Then after that, it's safer to communicate with me by email. Either any changes or the update or maybe late submission, I think it's a safe way. Okay. Any question for today's lecture?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
As I remember, in the case of SARS or MERS, there was no those kind of social intervention, but it ended. So how could it possible?
Well, partially because we didn't have a time to develop the vaccine for SARS and MERS. Partially because the death rate or the mortality rate was too high, and before the virus successfully infect other people, they killed their host too fast. That's why it's a strategy-wise for the virus. The virus failed. This coronavirus, they do not kill the people right away, and they have a much higher infection rate. That's why this is more difficult for us to manage, seems like. So there was no chance we think about we were scared, and within 2 months or 3 months, they just disappeared almost automatically. That's why we didn't need to develop a vaccine, which takes more than 1 year. But this coronavirus, it seems like they don't kill people right away, even though there's some significant death rate. So that's kind of a virus strategy-wise. Maybe that's a smarter, or maybe I don't want to use this term. The virus is our enemy for now. So it's a technically more efficient way for the virus to spread. That's the current situation. So this is not scientific judgment. This is just an observation of those the two rate, death rate versus infection rate. And that is the reason why we need to take different actions. Okay, time is over. So if it's not very urgent question, maybe you can continue in the last class. I will try to start this class on time and also finish this on time too. Okay, any urgent question for today? If not, okay, thank you everybody. So see you on Thursday. If you have any other question, then you can put it up. No, until the next the class, I don't have a chance to look up to the system carefully. So you may send me the question by email to me. Okay, email or Kakao. Short question, Kakao. Long questions through email. Okay. Okay, guys. See you on Thursday.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Yep.
Thank you, Professor.